Good evening, traveler. I am Silas Whitmore, and tonight I invite you to settle into your chair, dim the lights, and drift with me into a shadowed corner of history. We shall wander the cold, narrow alleys of medieval Europe, where the stones echo not with music or laughter, but with the soft shuffle of boots belonging to those who lived and died in the dark, the assassins. Now, before your thoughts drift to romantic tales of cloaked figures scaling castle walls beneath a full moon, know this: the truth is far less noble. Being an assassin in the Middle Ages was no grand adventure, no secret brotherhood with graceful training halls and whispered wisdom. It was instead the last refuge of the desperate. A life not chosen, but thrust upon men with nothing left to lose, ruined soldiers, starving thieves, drifters, so far removed from society that a coin purse and a name on parchment felt like salvation, even if it was only the beginning of the end. These shadows of history lived in filth, hid in barrels for days, and faced targets who slept behind stone walls, moats, and swords eager to cut them down before dawn. For 12 silver coins, they might spend nights in the stench of a sewer, only to meet their own end on the gallows a week later. They were neither heroes nor villains, only whispers paid in coin and forgotten in dirt. So pour yourself a warm drink, let the soft hum of the night surround you, and allow me to carry you into their world, a quiet descent into lives lived on the knife's edge. And if you enjoy this gentle walk through the shadows, do leave a comment with the number 1. But if you do not, well, perhaps you can click the like button instead. You wake. Not quickly, not all at once. The cold air presses against your face. The straw beneath you scratches at your skin. It is not a bed, not truly. Only a pile of dry stalks laid upon a dirt floor, damp in the corners and carrying the smell of smoke and mildew. Your stomach aches. It is not hunger you feel, but the deep, hollow pull of going without again. There is no bread this morning, no meat, not even a heel of cheese left to chew slowly to make it last. There is no work either, not honest work. The harvest has failed. The Lord's men came last week, their hands reaching for taxes you do not have. The baker turns his head when you pass. The miller shakes his head before you speak. No one waits for you, not by the hearth, not anywhere. This is when it happens, when men such as you become something else entirely, not by desire, never by desire. No man wakes and whispers, "I long to creep through alleys, to put a blade between another man's ribs, to vanish before dawn." That thought does not come because you seek it. It comes because there is nothing left. The roads of your life they have ended. The path of the farmer, the soldier, even the thief, all gone. What remains is narrow, dark, cold, and so you step forward. Most who walk this path, they look much like you. A soldier dismissed carrying a scar that aches with the weather and a limp that slows his steps. A thief, hands trembling, not from fear, but from a hunger that has gnawed at his bones for weeks. A wanderer nameless passing through villages where no one remembers his face even as he stands before them. There is no mountaintop hall to train you, no candles lit in a secret order, no whispered oaths, only survival, only coin. Only the quiet knowledge that if you do not take the offer, you will starve. Someone will find you. They always do. A figure hooded, or a merchant eyes low and voice softer still. A purse will slide across a rough table. A name spoken so gently it feels like a prayer. And you will not refuse. For refusal is hunger, and hunger is death. Not tonight, not yet. This is how it begins. Not with a plan, not with glory, only with desperation, and a slow, careful step into the waiting shadows. You do not look for this work. It looks for you. It never comes in daylight, not with a knock, not with open words. It slips in quietly when no one is watching. A shadow in the tavern's corner. A whisper behind a door. A folded scrap of parchment pressed into your hand, so quick, so light, you almost doubt it ever happened. There are no banners calling for men like you. No guild to join. No master waiting to teach the craft. Those who need a blade in the night, they do not speak loudly. They observe. They wait. And when they decide, they choose the ones who cannot refuse the desperate, the hungry, the invisible. Perhaps it happens after a long evening. The tavern is almost empty. The hearth burns low. A man sits across from you. His cloak is plain, his face unremarkable, but his boots are clean. Too clean for the roads, you know. He does not meet your eyes. He does not ask for your name. He only slides a small purse across the table. The faint rattle of coins cuts through the hush of the room. Then a name, whispered, barely above the crackle of the fire. A baron, a bishop, a merchant with enemies powerful enough to pay for silence. Always a man who sleeps behind guards and gates. Always a man who will not be easy to reach. You do not ask why. Not why he must die. Not why you were chosen. Such questions do not keep men alive. You listen to the details. The hour. The path the guards walk. The corner where the torch burns low. The crack in the wall where the stones shift if pressed just so. You remember every word. Not because you trust the speaker, but because forgetting would cost more than coin. And when you leave, the night feels heavier. The streets stretch longer. Every stranger's glance feels sharper. As if the world itself now knows what you carry, the purse, the name, the weight of what you must do. Still you walk. Slowly. Silently. Because in this life, hesitation is death. And death has a way of finding men who take the coin. And yet, even before you draw the blade, there is another weight to carry the price that comes with every silver piece. The payment may seem tempting, but what it costs is something far greater. The purse is heavy when it settles in your hand. 12 silver coins. Enough to buy bread for weeks. Enough to rent a room where the roof does not leak, where the wind does not slip through the cracks and claw at your bones as you try to sleep. Enough perhaps to clear the debts that have followed you for so long, whispered behind your back by men who smile to your face. For a moment it feels like relief, almost like hope. But silver is never light. Each coin carries a weight far beyond its shine. Not just the weight of metal, but the weight of eyes. The eyes of guards who will hunt you if the deed is found out. The eyes of neighbors who will swear they saw nothing, but will remember your face when the noose is tied. And worst of all, the eyes of the one who gave you this purse for silver can turn cold in a moment, and the hand that paid you may one day pay another to make you disappear. The pay is more than the fields could ever give you. One job, and you might earn what would take a month, maybe two, of digging in, mud plowing the stubborn earth, and chewing on stale barley to keep alive. But the pay is not steady. There is no promise of another job when this one is done. And there is no guarantee that you will live long enough to spend the silver you already hold. Every coin demands something in return. Some men pay with their blood cut down before they even see their target's shadow. Others pay with their silence, buried in shallow earth by the very hand that once offered them silver, their pay reclaimed for the next desperate soul. And some they pay slowly. Over months, over years, drifting from town to town, always eating alone, always sleeping lightly, knowing no hearth will welcome them, because every hearth fears what lingers in their shadow. Even success tastes bitter. When the blade strikes true and the mark collapses, there is no triumph, no cheer. Only the sound of your own breath heavy in your ears and the rush of your feet as you slip away before the guards are roused. You clutch the purse as you run, and yet it feels heavier now. The job is done, but your life is not safer than before. Perhaps it is even shorter now. Still, you take the coin, because hunger is worse. The cold is worse. The silence of an empty belly weighs more than the fear of a drawn sword. You tuck the silver deep into your cloak, and you walk on into the darkness. For you know this is only the beginning. Before the silver can ever be spent, you must first survive the world you now belong to the shadows that will become your only refuge and your only home. The streets are not your home. Not anymore. You cannot linger in the markets, cannot stand beneath the lantern light with the others laughing over mugs of ale. Every glance feels too long. Every whisper too sharp. And so your world becomes narrower. Darker. You sleep where no one wishes to sleep. Beneath stairs that creak with every step above. In lofts where rats scurry through the grain. Sometimes in a hollow beneath a stable where the smell of hay and manure becomes your blanket. It is not comfort, but it is safety. By day you move with care. A face among faces. The ragged cloak, the dirt upon your boots, all meant to make you invisible. To be seen is to be remembered. And to be remembered is to be found. By night you become a shadow entirely. You learn to move with the wind, soft as it threads through broken shutters. You learn where the alleys twist, where the dogs bark, and where they sleep, which doors are never latched. You listen for the patterns the guard steps, the hour the candles are snuffed, the places where the torchlight falters. There is no warmth in this life, no hearth, no soft bed waiting. The shadows are your walls now, and the cold earth your floor. Every sound, the clatter of a distant bucket, the groan of a hinge stirs your hand to the dagger at your belt. Sleep comes rarely, and when it does, it comes light as a whisper. It is not just the fear of capture that gnaws at you. It is the distance from everything human. You no longer greet strangers. You do not speak unless it is necessary. A voice can be recognized. A name can be traced. Silence is the only shield you can trust. And as the nights stretch longer and the shadows grow thicker, you start to feel it, the weight of the life you chose, or rather, the life that chose you. Yet still, you endure, because the silver is still in your cloak, because hunger would be worse. Because to leave the shadows would be to step back into a world that will not forgive what you have become. But the shadows cannot protect you forever, and soon the night will bring more than cold and silence. Soon it will bring the tools you must wield, the crude instruments that keep you alive and end the lives of others. The tools of your work are not the kind sung about in stories. They are not gleaming swords forged by famed smiths and blessed by noble hands. They are not artifacts carried by heroes. They are things found, things stolen, things made in haste, and often things never meant to be weapons at all. The dagger comes first. Always the dagger. Short, narrow, its blade uneven from too many sharpenings on rough stone. It cuts not cleanly, not gracefully, but well enough to finish what must be done. The hilt is wrapped in cloth, not for beauty, but so it does not slip when your hands grow slick. A coil of rope, frayed at both ends, smelling faintly of tar and sea salt. It is used to climb, yes, over walls, up ledges, but sometimes it is used for something quieter, around a throat, across a mouth, to keep the world from hearing a final breath. And then the vial, small, stoppered tight. The liquid inside is dark sharp to the nose, bitter to the tongue. Poison mixed by hands as desperate as your own traded in alleys for coin. It is unreliable. It may work. It may not. But it weighs little, and in your work, every ounce of weight matters. Many tools you craft yourself, or salvage. A length of chain from a broken gate, a rusted hook from the docks. Even a smooth stone wrapped in rags to muffle its sound can serve as a weapon in a moment of need. None of these things carry honor. None were made to be admired. They exist for one purpose: to keep you alive long enough to see the silver you were promised. And they are never kept for long. Each tool once used is destroyed or discarded. A dagger dropped into a river, a rope burned to ash. The vial buried in a pit no one will find. To hold on to them would be to invite the noose to carry proof of a life no one must ever know. You carry them not with pride, only with care. Each piece of iron, each knot of cord, each fragile bottle, all of it reminds you of what you have become. And when you draw them in the stillness of the dark, there is no thrill, no surge of courage. There is only the slow, steady motion of a hand that understands one pause. One slip could mean your death before the night is over. Still, you keep them close. Without them, you are nothing but another starved wanderer waiting to freeze in the gutter. With them, you might yet see another dawn. But tools alone are not enough. No steel, no poison, no rope can save a hand that does not know what it is doing. And so in the shadows, you must learn not from teachers, not from masters, but from the cruelest tutor of all survival itself. There is no hall of training for you, no quiet master with patient eyes and careful words waiting to show you the ways of your craft. No rows of apprentices sparring under candlelight, their movements smooth, their steps rehearsed. The world you have stepped into has no time for such things. You learn instead by watching, by listening, by surviving. Your lessons come in fragments scattered like broken glass. A drunk soldier, once proud, tells you how to hold your breath when you hide beneath floorboards so the sound will not betray you. A traveling thief shows you how to move across a roof without loosening the tiles. And a man older than the rest, with a scar that runs across his jaw, mutters about the best way to fall, not to avoid pain, but to make less noise when you hit the ground. Each word, each gesture becomes something you carry with you. There is no parchment to write them down, no tutor to correct your stance. You commit it all to memory because forgetting can mean the difference between returning to the shadows or being left hanging from the town gates as a warning. And more often than not, the only teacher is failure. The time you misstep and a board creaks and you hear the guard's voice before you can vanish. The night you draw the blade too slowly and the mark turns his shout, waking a house full of steel and torches. If you live through these mistakes, you learn. If you do not, well, no one will remember your name long enough to call it a lesson. There are no rituals of mastery here. No belts to mark your skill, no medals to celebrate your craft. There is only the quiet, grim understanding that every night survived is another night of learning. That each job finished without your blood spilled is another page added to a book you will never write. And so you grow sharper. Not polished, not graceful, but sharper. Like a stone, chipped over and over until the edge, though rough, can still cut deep. But even as your skills grow, so does the danger. Because the men you are sent to face are not fools. They have guards who do not sleep walls, that do not crack, and hounds who can smell fear long before they smell blood. And soon, those walls and hounds will rise before you. The silver in your cloak will feel lighter, and every skill you have scraped together will be tested against the places where your targets sleep, the castles, the keeps, and the towers where one wrong move means the end. The men you are sent to find do not live as you do. They sleep behind walls so thick that even the wind must curl and twist to slip through the cracks. Their gates are iron, their towers tall enough to catch the first light of dawn before the town below even stirs. Every target feels untouchable. A baron who dines on roasted meat while you chew stale crusts in the dark. A bishop whose bedchamber smells of incense while you crouch in the filth beneath the floor, counting the hours. A merchant fat with coin who travels only with men carrying spears, their eyes sharp even when the night grows heavy. The castles are more than stone. They are living things. They breathe with the footsteps of guards, the bark of hounds, the clatter of chains as portcullises rise and fall. Each torch, each window, each stretch of shadow feels like a mouth waiting to swallow you whole. To reach these men is not simple. You wait for nights, sometimes weeks. You crouch in ditches, crawl through drainage tunnels that reek of waste, or lie still in lofts where rats run across your chest as though you are already a corpse. You count breaths. You wait for one guard to yawn, for another to wander too far from his post, for the torchlight to flicker when the wind slips past the walls. There are moments when you almost forget why you are there. The hunger dulls your focus. The stench burns your throat. The hours drag until the stars blur and the night itself feels endless. And yet you cannot falter. Because when the chance comes, when a door is left unlatched or a guard's step grows careless, you will only have a heartbeat to act. Failure means more than a lost purse. It means the clang of alarm bells, the snap of bowstrings, and the cold bite of iron shackles. It means your body hung at dawn for crows and townsfolk alike to watch. And so each stone tower you approach feels heavier than the last. Each silent hall feels colder. But you press forward because the silver in your cloak has not yet been spent, and because there is no road left for you except the one that leads through these gates. Yet once inside, the wait begins anew. Not for days this time, but for nights long and silent. The castle holds its breath, and so must you, hiding in the dark places where no light dares linger, waiting for the moment when the shadows will finally move. The hardest part is not the strike. It is the waiting. Nights spent in spaces where no one would willingly linger. Beneath a rotting stairwell where each step above you sends down a puff of dust. In the crawl of a drainage tunnel where the walls are slick and the stench of waste clings to your skin like a second layer. Or in the rafters of a storehouse where rats skitter over your boots and gnaw at your cloak, unafraid of the stillness of your breath. The hours stretch slow as dripping water. Every sound becomes sharper. The creak of a timber feels like thunder. The shuffle of boots beyond the wall like a hammer blow. Even your own heartbeat, steady and soft, feels too loud, as if the guards below might hear it echoing through the stones. You cannot move much. You cannot sleep. Your stomach knots itself twisting as hunger sets in sharp and deep. The air is heavy, damp, and stale, so each breath tastes like the place itself, mold, earth, and something fouler still. Time does strange things here. A single hour feels like a full night. The night feels like a lifetime. You count the sounds outside the guards' patrol, the change of shifts, the barking of the hounds when someone passes too close to the walls. It becomes your only clock, the only way to know that the world beyond your hiding place is still moving. And through it all, the tension never fades. You cannot relax. Every muscle stays tight, ready to move at the faintest sign. Your hand never strays far from the dagger, your ear never far from the crack in the wall, listening for a change in voice as a signal that it is time. Some men break in the waiting, not the killing. They slip from their hiding place too soon, lungs screaming for clean air, nerves snapping from the strain of silence. Those men rarely live to regret it. So you stay. Still, silent, breathing slow, shallow breaths, letting time pass over you like a river. And when the moment comes, a door creaks, a guard coughs, a torch sputters in the wind, you move. Slow at first, like the shadow you have become, then quick certain as the chance appears at last. But even for those who can wait, who can endure the filth and the hunger, the next truth is crueler still. Most who take the coin do not live long enough to spend it. For the night is merciless, and the lives of assassins burn out faster than any torch along these cold stone walls. For most men who take the coin, the end comes quickly. It is not the silver that kills them. It is the night, the waiting, the blade that moves too slow, or the guard who does not sleep when he is meant to. Some die in the attempt their bodies left, or they follow warning for others who think shadows will keep them safe. The cobblestones drink their blood, and by morning their names are already forgotten, replaced by whispers of a faceless intruder cut down before the job was done. Others die after the work is finished, not by the hand of their target, but by the hand that hired them. A second coin purse, heavier than the first, is offered to another desperate soul to silence the one who knows too much. The killer becomes the killed, buried in a shallow grave, their own payment stolen to fund their replacement. And then there are those who survive the strike, survive the escape, but not the life. They wander from town to town, always unseen, always unwanted. The silver keeps them fed, but never safe. Sooner or later, someone recognizes their face. A guard who remembers a night too clearly. A priest who notices a scar that should not exist. And one morning, without warning, they are dragged from their bed of straw, shackled, and led to the square where the gallows wait. For a moment, they stand there staring at the sky, watching the clouds drift, hearing the crowd murmur below. And then the rope tightens and the story ends. Few live beyond 30. Fewer still die in a bed with a roof above them and a fire near their feet. Most burn through their years like torches in the wind, quick, bright, and gone. And all of them know from the first coin they touch that the work will not end well. There is no retirement, no peace, only the hope of enough silver to dull the hunger for as many nights as fate will allow. Yet still, men take the purse, again and again. Because the world offers no gentler path for those already lost in the dark. And in that darkness, where no bonds last and no home endures another cost, begins to grow heavier the loneliness. The silence that follows each job. The faces that vanish before you can remember them. A life where not even companionship can follow you into the shadows. Companionship is a luxury you can no longer afford. The shadows that keep you alive will not share space with others. Friends become dangers. Family becomes a memory you dare not touch. Every bond is a risk, and in your world, risks are sharpened things, waiting to cut you open when you least expect it. You travel alone, always. Villages pass by like ghosts, faces, blurred voices, faint, all fading as quickly as they appear. You do not greet anyone by name. Names cling to the mind. Names are remembered, and remembering is dangerous. When you eat alone. A heel of bread, a bowl of thin broth purchased with coins you count twice before handing them over. The innkeeper does not meet your eyes. The serving girl does not speak. They sense something in you, even if they cannot name it, the way you sit near the corner, your back to the wall, your eyes never leaving the door. When you sleep light. In rooms where the lock is weak and the windows narrow. In barns beneath rafters, that smell of hay and dust. Or more often outside the walls, entirely curled in the hollow of a ditch where the sound of wind is your only lullaby. There are moments in the dead of night when the silence presses too close. When you wonder if you have become less than a man, something hollow, something more shadow than flesh. You think of voices once familiar, faces once trusted, and push them away before they can linger too long. Because if they linger, the loneliness grows teeth. And a man who feels too deeply hesitates. A man who hesitates does not see the next sunrise. So you harden. Not by choice, but by necessity. The shadows ask it of you. The silver demands it of you. And the path you walk leaves no room for comfort, no place for warmth. And yet, in that cold, silent life, you cannot forget every coin you take brings another danger. Not just from the ones you hunt, but from the ones who pay. For a man who lives by the blade must always wonder if the next job will end not with his target's death, but with his own. And so each time the work is done, you do not celebrate. You do not stay. You vanish before the sun has risen, before the whispers can spread. Because sometimes the hand that gave you the silver will hire another to ensure you never speak again. When the blade strikes true and the target falls, there is no triumph. No cheer, no feast, no weightless breath of relief. Only silence. The kind of silence that presses against your ears and makes the world feel smaller, tighter, as though the night itself is holding its breath. You do not linger. You cannot. The moment the deed is done, you move. Out the window, across the rooftop, through the narrow lane where shadows gather deepest. Each footstep is measured. Each breath is shallow. Behind you, the body grows cold. Ahead, the city still sleeps, though it feels as though every shuttered window hides an eye. The silver is yours for now. You may even hold it in your hand as you walk, feeling the weight, telling yourself it was worth it, that the waiting, the filth, the hunger, the risk, all of it was worth this heavy purse. But you know the truth. The silver will not last, and neither will the quiet. You cannot remain in the same town. Too many whispers. Too many questions. Someone will notice the wrong face at the wrong time. So you vanish. Sometimes in the dead of night. Sometimes before the sun has risen. You walk roads where no one travels, slip through forests, where the trees keep your secrets, and cross bridges at hours when even the toll keeper sleeps. New towns bring new dangers. You change your name, your voice, even your gait, teaching your body to move differently so that the past cannot catch you. The silver buys you food, a bed, perhaps a warm cloak. But not safety. Never safety. There are nights when you lie awake, the coins in your pack stacked neatly by your side, and wonder if you will live long enough to spend them all. You think of the man who hired you, and whether his purse is now open for another blade, one meant for you. Success does not bring comfort. It only brings time. Time to eat. Time to breathe. Time to wait for the next knock on the table, the next whisper in the dark, the next name you will be paid to erase. And deep down, you know each job completed does not move you closer to safety. It only moves you closer to the end, one step, one coin, one breath at a time. And yet men still take the coin, still whisper, yes, because for some even a short life of silver is better than the endless hunger of the gutter. But the truth, as the shadows will remind you, is that this life is no legend, only a brief, brutal trade, stripped of all glamour. You may have heard the stories. Tales whispered in taverns, spoken with wide eyes and eager voices. Stories of cloaked figures leaping from rooftops, moving with the grace of spirits' blades flashing in the moonlight as they vanish into the night. Legends of secret brotherhoods, bound by oaths, living by codes of honor, training in hidden sanctuaries where no common man may enter. But the truth is, nothing like that. There is no grace in this life. There are no sanctuaries, no oaths, no brotherhoods sworn beneath the stars. The shadows do not hold noble warriors, only desperate men. Men with empty stomachs, calloused hands, and eyes that no longer meet their own reflection in the water. The rooftops are not stages for acrobatics, but slick, uneven places where a single misstep can send you crashing into the alley below. The daggers do not gleam. Their edges are chipped. Their hilts are wrapped in cloth, not for beauty, but to keep them steady when your palms sweat with fear. The art of assassination is no art at all. It is crawling through filth, hiding for days in places where the air tastes of mold and ash, and waiting, always waiting, until one fragile moment when you act not for glory, not for vengeance, but for coin. And when the deed is done, there is no applause, no whispered praise, no secret feast to welcome you home. There is only the road, the cold wind, and the knowledge that the silver you earned tonight might pay for your next meal or might buy the hand that ends your life tomorrow. The myth paints this life as thrilling, dangerous, but glamorous a game of shadows and skill. The reality is lonelier, colder, a slow unraveling where each job takes a piece of you and each night reminds you that you are closer to your end than to anything resembling peace. And yet, despite the truth, men still take the coin. Not because they seek adventure, not because they crave the life of a shadow, but because hunger leaves no room for pride. And so, as you imagine this world sitting in the quiet of your own home, know this: the life of a medieval assassin is not one you would choose, not one you could bear. For even one night in that world would weigh heavier than any story you have ever heard. And now the night grows still. You have heard the truth, piece by piece, the hunger, the cold, the waiting, the danger. The life of a medieval assassin, stripped of the legends, bared of the romantic tales told by firelight. It is not a life of glory. It is not a life of freedom. It is a life of silence, of shadows, of nights that stretch endlessly, each one a coin tossed between survival and a noose. Perhaps as you sit here listening in the quiet, you can feel it, the weight such a life would place upon your shoulders. The loneliness that eats deeper than hunger. The fear that settles heavier than the winter cold. The knowing that each breath, each coin, each step through the dark might be the one that brings the end. But you are safe here. The shadows are far away. The wind cannot touch you. You may let the heaviness of these stories drift away like smoke fading into the rafters. Let your breath slow. Let your eyes grow heavy. And leave this world for now to those who once lived in it and vanished before their time. If you enjoyed this journey, this quiet walk through another time, leave a comment with the number 1. And if you did not, well, perhaps leave a like anyway. It might keep the shadows from following you home tonight. Now rest easy, my friend. This has been Silas Whitmore, your guide through the quiet corridors of history. Until next time, may your dreams be peaceful and your nights free of the footsteps that haunt darker roads.